America invested billions of dollars in public funds to build state-of-the-art airports capable of handling tens of millions of passengers. Yet, in 2025, these glass and steel giants are running at a crawl. Half-empty terminals, silent corridors, and losses piling up day after day. Sales in airport shops have dropped by more than $500 million. Parking revenues have collapsed by 40%, and cargo worth tens of billions vanished overnight. But what happened? The tariffs imposed by Donald Trump triggered a fierce trade war, leading to retaliations that suffocated exports, slowed international tourism, and emptied the terminals. Once a symbol of American power, these airports have now become true multi-billion-dollar ghost cathedrals. Here are the 10 American airports that no one visits anymore. Number 10, Charlotte Douglas International Airport in North Carolina. In the heart of North Carolina, Charlotte Douglas Airport was long one of the symbols of the South's meteoric rise. Today, it rather embodies its silent slowdown. Once among the top 10 busiest airports in the country, with nearly 53 million travelers per year, it experienced a historic drop in 2025. Traffic plummeted by 30%. The cause? The sharp decline in domestic travel and the near-total disappearance of foreign tourists. Airlines are cutting back their flights one after another. American Airlines, which dominates the airport, has cut 18% of its daily flights, meaning more than 90 departures canceled every week. And of course, the local economy has taken the hit. Tourism, which used to inject more than $7.4 billion a year into the region, is now at a standstill. Hotel bookings have dropped by 27%, and airport shops are seeing their revenues fall by nearly 45%. Even the restaurants. Once overwhelmed by the flow of connecting passengers, they now close before nightfall. According to staff, terminals that used to be packed during rush hour now look like Sunday mornings, but every day. And the impact goes far beyond the airport walls. The banking sector and business travel, both drivers of Charlotte's economy, are also showing signs of weakness. Corporate travel has plunged by 33%, a direct result of budget cuts, layoffs, and high interest rates. The convention scene, once very lively, is collapsing as well. 22 major events have been canceled, representing $480 million in lost spending. Even freight has taken a hit. Volumes are down 15%, revealing a general weakening of American demand. For a city that once called itself the hub of the New South, the blow to its image is severe. At night, the airport lights still shine, but the atmosphere is strange, almost empty. Boarding announcements echo through half-empty halls. Charlotte stands tall, proud, but uncertain, as if waiting for planes that may never return at the same pace as before. A place once synonymous with endless connection now feels like a terminal where momentum has been lost. Number 9. Salt Lake City International Airport, Utah. In 2025, the brand-new Salt Lake City Airport, colossal $4.1 billion project, touted as a modern marvel, became a vast empty space. Designed to handle 34 million passengers a year, it now receives fewer than 20 million. A staggering 41% drop that has left local authorities completely stunned. The bright terminals, once bustling with skiers, hikers, and travelers from around the world coming for Sundance, now echo like a silent concrete cathedral. Tourism, the backbone of Utah's economy, has simply collapsed. Delta, the airport's dominant airline, has cut 22% of its flight schedule and eliminated several routes to Chicago, Atlanta, and even Los Angeles. Flights to Paris and Amsterdam have quietly disappeared due to lack of demand, and the consequences are severe. The tourism sector, which used to generate more than $12.3 billion a year, is expected to lose nearly $3.8 billion in 2025. Hotels in Park City are seeing a 35% drop in bookings. Ski resorts are losing 28% of their visitors, and car rentals are down by 30%. Tens of thousands of hospitality and leisure workers are at risk of being laid off. Airport businesses themselves are racking up nearly $90 million in losses. Inflation isn't helping matters. Airfare to Utah's jumped by 19%. Hotels are becoming too expensive for many families. And with unfavorable exchange rates, foreign tourists have simply stopped coming. Even American travelers now prefer more affordable destinations. The airport, which once prided itself on being the crossroads of the West, is now discovering just how fragile that crossroads can be. The vast spaces built for growth are now almost deserted. Planes remain grounded, Security lines, once endless, can now be crossed in just a few minutes. Utah, which dreamed of becoming the new Denver, is facing a harsh reality. Even an ultra-modern airport do anything against a world that has stopped traveling. Number 8. Logan International Airport in Boston, Massachusetts. The story of Logan Airport in 2025 is eerily reminiscent of the darkest times in its past. Once bustling with students, tourists from Europe, and business travelers from New England, it is now facing one of its worst drops in traffic since 2001. Traffic has dropped by 32% in a single year, which means nearly 10 million fewer passengers. The reason? An explosive combination: declining tourism, economic pressures, and skyrocketing flight prices. A round-trip international flight from Boston now costs an average of $1,045 compared to $780 before, a 34% increase that discourages many families from traveling. Flight cancellations have jumped by 40% compared to 2023, with airlines like British Airways, JetBlue, and Delta significantly cutting their routes to Europe. For the state of Massachusetts, it's an earthquake. Tourism, which used to bring in $24 billion a year, could drop below $16 billion in 2025. At Logan, shops are seeing a 43% drop in their revenues, and parking lots have already lost $57 million. Hotels, taxis, and guided tours are expecting more than 18,000 job cuts. Even sectors that are usually resilient, like universities and biotech, are feeling the impact, especially with a 15% drop in international enrollments. Traffic coming from Asia and the Middle East is also collapsing. For example, Qatar Airways no longer offers its daily flight to Doha. Now it only departs 4 times a week. Terminal leave, the heart of international departures, illustrates the situation better than anything else. The long glass walkways that used to welcome crowds from London or Rome now shine under the neon lights, but in a heavy silence. For many residents, this slowdown isn't just an infrastructure issue. It's a piece of Boston's identity that's wavering. The gateway to New England is losing its vitality, its movement, its pulse. Boston remains a city rich in history and knowledge. Metaphorically, the sounds of the world have turned into whispers from the past. Number 7. Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport in Arizona. Phoenix Sky Harbor liked to call itself America's friendliest airport in 2025. That slogan now sounds almost like a bad joke. What was once a bustling gateway in the heart of the desert, filled with tourists, snowbirds, and business travelers, has turned into a vast, echoing space, a witness to the economic slowdown. Traffic, which used to exceed 48 million passengers a year, plummeted by 31%. Entire terminals are running at a crawl, and jet bridges sit unused under the blazing Arizona sun. The airlines aren't mincing words. American Airlines and Southwest, which together operate more than 70% of the flights, have cut over 160 weekly departures since May. International traffic is crumbling even faster. Flights to Mexico City and London have been cut in half. And the seasonal service to Frankfurt has been suspended indefinitely due to lack of demand. Financially, it's a monumental shock. Arizona's tourism industry, valued at $28 billion in 2023, could lose $7.2 billion this year. Hotels in Phoenix and Scottsdale are struggling to reach 59% occupancy. Conventions are down by 38%. In Terminal 4, some restaurants are seeing a 45% drop in business. And the airport parking lots have lost $41 million in just 6 months. This crisis doesn't stop at the doors of Sky Harbor. Tens of thousands of workers, handlers, receptionists, drivers, are seeing their hours cut or fear losing their jobs. The tourism office estimates that 25,000 jobs are at risk statewide if the situation doesn't improve quickly. The irony is bitter. Phoenix, which had been experiencing explosive growth thanks to relocations and tech investments, is now paying the price for inflation, rising airfares, and weakened purchasing power. Heat waves exceeding 115 degrees Fahrenheit are making the situation even worse. They discourage visitors and cause delays due to aircraft performance limits. What was supposed to be the desert's grand global gateway now looks like a mirage, majestic in form but empty in function. At night, the distant sound of airplanes seems less like the promise of a takeoff than a memory. Number 6. Chicago O'Hare International Airport, Illinois. O'Hare Airport, long considered the jewel of American aviation, is going through a period of heavy turbulence. In 2025, the number of passengers dropped from 76 million to less than 49 million, a steep 36% decline, almost unimaginable for such a central hub. The terminals, once bustling with travelers from all over the world, now echo with announcements broadcast into emptiness. There are many reasons behind this decline. The global collapse of tourism, soaring fuel prices, and the economic slowdown shaking the entire Midwest. Compared to 2023, OER has lost 1 out of every 4 international flights. Connections to Beijing, Paris, and Dubai have been suspended. United Airlines, the largest operator at the airport, has cut its operations by 17% due to lack of profitability. The numbers are staggering. Since January, revenue from travel-related sectors, hotels, restaurants, taxis, has dropped by $4.6 billion in Chicago. Airport businesses have seen their income shrink by 42%, and duty-free sales have plunged by 58%, a direct result of the disappearance of international travelers. Even freight, which was vital during previous crises, is declining. A 19% drop signals a weakening of trade and industry. Citywide, tourism losses could exceed $6.8 billion by the end of the year. Fewer tips, fewer reservations, more layoffs. Economists are sounding the alarm. If traffic doesn't pick up by next summer, 35,000 jobs could disappear in the region. A hard blow for a city already facing crime and an exodus of its residents. The famous neon tunnel at O'Hare still sparkles, but the travelers passing through it can now almost be counted on one hand. The endless TSA lines have been replaced by empty rows and idle scanners. The silence is heavier than any storm-related delay. For decades, OR embodied movement, commerce, and American ambition. Today, it reflects a darker reality. Even the most powerful crossroads can lose their way when the world stops traveling. Number 5. Seattle-Tacoma Airport, SeaTac, Washington State. Rain is still falling on Seattle, but the pace of its airport has slowed considerably. Seattle-Tacoma, once one of the fastest-growing hubs on the continent, is experiencing a disastrous year in life. The number of passengers has dropped by 35%, meaning nearly 14 million travelers have disappeared. For an airport that was still breaking records just 2 summers ago, this silence is striking. This decline isn't sudden. The entire region was heavily dependent on Asian tourism. But with a 48% drop in arrivals from Japan, China, and South Korea, many routes have simply disappeared. Delta and Alaska Airlines have been cut, along with AL2 totaling 120 weekly flights due to insufficient passenger numbers. Cargo, which was once an important economic buffer, is also declining. Freight volumes have dropped by 21% since January, a clear sign of the global trade slowdown. The financial impact across the entire state is massive. Tourism, which used to generate $22.1 billion a year, could lose $6.4 billion. Hotel occupancy rates are below 58%, a level not seen since 2020. Restaurants, already weakened by high costs, are seeing closures multiply. At the airport, concessions have lost $67 million in 6 months. The Port of Seattle is expecting a $900 million deficit by the end of 2025. But beyond the numbers, it's a moral shock. SEA used to be a symbol of innovation. Solar roofing, automated systems, sustainable aviation. Today, these futuristic facilities look like ghost corridors. The International Arrivals Hall, usually packed, is almost empty. Customs agents kill time on their phones, waiting for passengers who no longer come. Even business travel is collapsing, hit hard by waves of layoffs at Amazon, Microsoft, and Boeing. Over 40,000 jobs lost in the state. The airport that once opened the door to the world now reflects a local recession. At nightfall, the control tower still lights up the foggy sky, but far fewer planes venture out. The constant hum that once connected Seattle to the rest of the world has turned into nothing more than the sound of rain, an emptiness. SeaTac, the gateway to the Pacific, has become the gateway to great uncertainty. Number 4, Denver International in Colorado. Once, it was the proud gateway perched in Mile High City, a giant built to move, flow, and breathe transit. Today, in 2025, this colossus looks more like a frozen kingdom. Passenger traffic has collapsed by 33%, meaning over 20 million travelers have disappeared in just 1 year. For a state that relies heavily on tourism, it's a real economic earthquake, and the impact is being felt everywhere. United and Southwest, the two airlines that dominated Denver, have cut more than 200 flights per week. Toronto, Cancun, Munich, these destinations are now on hold for an indefinite period. Ticket prices have jumped by 22%, forcing many families to cancel their summer getaways. On top of that, fuel prices are nearing $3.95 a gallon, making long trips almost impossible to turn a profit on. As a result, airlines are cutting back their operations even further. Tourism used to inject $27 billion a year into Colorado's economy. Now, experts are predicting a shortfall of $7.5 billion by the end of the year. Ski resorts, which depend on a diverse range of international travelers, are seeing a 31% drop in bookings. Downtown Denver hotels are struggling to reach 55% occupancy. Airport businesses are down 46%, and more than 5,000 concession employees have lost their jobs. Even the massive $2.1 billion Great Hall renovation project now feels like a bitter symbol. The brand new terminals gleam under a cold light, but almost no one passes through. The TSA lines, once endless, now clear out in just a few minutes. The usual roar of takeoffs has faded away. There are 400 fewer aircraft movements per day compared to last summer. For the locals, it's an emotional shock. The airport was more than just a building. It was proof that Denver had risen among the great cities connected to the whole world. Today, as the mountains shimmer in the distance, they're witnessing the crumbling of an economy built on travel and conferences. The echo in the hallway is almost unsettling. Where organized chaos once reigned, now you can hear your own footsteps. The city that dreamed big has been abruptly brought back down to earth. Even at 5,000 feet above sea level, you can fall very far. Number 3, Orlando International Airport in Florida. This is where vacations began, where families arrived with eyes full of excitement. But in MCO, the beaten heart of Florida tourism, looks like a frozen, deserted set, as if the magic has left the place. Traffic has dropped by 39%, nearly 23 million fewer passengers in less than a year. In a city built around theme parks and family vacations, it's a stab in the heart. The drop comes mainly from international travel. Arrivals from the United Kingdom, Brazil, and Canada have fallen by 47% since January. British Airways and Air Canada have canceled dozens of weekly flights due to lack of demand. Disney World is attracting 26% fewer visitors. Universal Orlando's down by 29%. Hotels are stagnating at 54% occupancy, a level not seen in over 10 years. Terminals B and C, once bustling with shuttles, strollers, and colorful suitcases, now look like scenes frozen in time. Financially, it's a black hole. Florida, which used to generate $125 billion from tourism, could lose $30 billion this year, and Orlando accounts for almost a third of that gap. The airport shops have lost 49% of their revenue, and parking is facing a shortfall of $60 million. Nearly 2,800 employees have been laid off. Expansion projects have been put on hold. And the reason is clear: families just can't afford it anymore. Tickets to Orlando have gone up by 31% and hotels by 22%. The dream trip is becoming an unattainable luxury. If the trend continues, more than 70,000 jobs could disappear in 2025. Today, the hallways where Mickey balloons once floated and children's laughter echoed now ring only with the sound of a handful of lawsuit cases. The Sunshine State is slipping into economic shadow, and for many, the happiest place on earth is suddenly becoming a dream that's too expensive and strangely silent. Number 2. Los Angeles International Airport in California. There was a time when LAX embodied the energy of global travel. A golden gateway to the Pacific, a place where 88 million passengers cross paths every year. In 2025, that buzz is gone. Traffic has collapsed by 36%, meaning 32 million fewer travelers. The city that once sold dreams now sees its main gateway sink into an unsettling standstill. The fall of LX goes far beyond the region. It's a direct reflection of the American tourism crisis. Flights from Asia, Tokyo, Beijing, Seoul have dropped by 52%. Hana, China Eastern, Korean Air, all are reducing or suspending their flights. Connections to London or Paris are down by 29%. As for business trips tied to Hollywood studios, they've almost disappeared. Losses are counted in the billions. California's tourism economy, valued at $150 billion in 2023, could lose $38 billion this year. At LX, retail sales have plunged by 51%. Parking revenues have dropped by $78 million. Airlines have seen their operations fall by 28%. More than 40,000 jobs around the airport are at risk. Fuel prices are over $4 a gallon. Visa policies are getting stricter. Inflation's undermining travelers' confidence. And crime around the corridors leading to the airport is putting off tourists. Searches for vacations in Los Angeles on TripAdvisor are down by 23%. Even the film industry, once a magnet for visitors, is suffering from production delays and labor disputes. The iconic LAX building still lights up at night, but the terminals, designed to welcome international crowds, are almost empty. Where lines for London or Sydney used to be endless, now just a few travelers wait beneath flickering screens. The City of Stars is losing its shine, and its airport has become the most troubling symbol of that. Number 1. John F. Kennedy International Airport in New York. At the top of the ranking is JFK. Long considered the ultimate gateway to the United States, today only a ghostly version remains. The airport used to welcome 62 million passengers every year. In 2025, traffic plummets by 43%. Nearly 27 million fewer travelers, a void that echoes through every terminal. International flights, which make up 70% of JFK's activity, are the hardest hit. They've collapsed by half. British Airways, Emirates, Lufthansa, all of them have reduced their capacity by 30 to 40%. Dozens of flights are canceled every week. Delta's Terminal 4, once packed, now shows rows of empty counters. The economic consequences are severe. New York tourism, which used to bring in $74 billion a year, could lose $21 billion by December. Manhattan hotels have dropped to 56% occupancy. Airport retail revenues have fallen by 52%. Even taxis have been hit hard. 46% fewer rides, thousands of drivers without income. But behind these numbers lies something deeper. The world no longer comes to America. Inflation, visa delays, and a strong dollar, all of that discourages foreign travelers. As for Americans themselves, many are cutting back on travel. Household debt now exceeds $18 trillion. Walking through JFK today feels almost unreal. The mosaic globe in Terminal 5 still sparkles, but it's surrounded by empty seats. For decades, this airport represented arrival, hope, a new beginning. In 2025, it reflects something else, the slow unraveling of a country that once ruled the skies. The airport that once connected continents now seems cut off from its own history. And it's here at JFK that the rest of the world realizes America no longer draws people in like it used to.